All right, so we are back with another one of these car rides, and guess what? I have some news for you. Obviously, not much of a news, especially since it happened 5 days ago when Dylan Whyte tested positive for illegal substance under the VADA drug testing commissions. Not commissions, more like an agency, rather, because they're not a commission. Just like USADA in the UFC, they are not a commission, but rather an independent contractor that comes in to basically legitimize the sport in terms of showing that, hey, look, we are a legitimized sport with real drug testings and real protocols. But in reality, I'm going to tell you guys the truth about drug testing agencies in combat sports. What they are is basically some sort of PR policy or PR insurance of some sort to say that if anything goes wrong, this is what we tried. We checked these boxes. And what boxes is that specifically? Well, the boxes of safety for all athletes, meaning that, okay, you know what? We got all these athletes drug tested, and the fact that they did and the fact that they passed, well, nothing falls on us in terms of what is at fault when anything goes wrong or anything goes sideways. Now, drugs in combat sports is a different story in and of itself. And why do I say that? You got to understand something about combat sports and drug use. It's a common thing for a lot of people to say, well, you know what? It's all about being fair and doing the right thing and this and that. And believe me, I subscribe to that idea, and I'm going to tell you why. I would never take steroids ever in my entire life for the simple fact that, for one, not to be cocky or arrogant, I really don't need it. At 38 years old, I could push high levels amounts of weights, high levels amounts of cardio, and can still train like a pro at this age, and it would not affect me in any kind of way other than just make me even more angry and change my personality for the worse. But even worse than that, you look at Dolph Lundgren. He mentioned something to the effect where he regrets taking steroids at a young age. When you looked at when he played Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, right? He regrets taking it because it gave him cancer. And then you look at all the other WWE superstars in the past that have passed away or that have gone off the face of the earth because of the fact that, let's just be honest, right? You know, these are not good for you. They're not good for you long term. Are they good for you in the short term? And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Because in the short term, you got to understand that when you're going into a gunfight, are you going to bring a knife? Okay? And if you're going to bring your only fist into a knife fight, is that going to help? It's not really going to help, is it? It's not really conducive for you to be able to manage or mitigate danger when you don't have the proper weapons that you bring into the ring. And why am I even calling it a weapon of some sort when I'm talking about illegal substances in combat sports? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Paulie Malignaggi mentioned something to the effect where I'm done judging guys taking steroids or drugs in combat sports. And his reason of why he doesn't want to do that anymore is just for the simple fact that, let's just be honest, everybody is on it. And one reason or another, the guy that's on it is on it only because the guy that he's fighting or the 10 guys that he's about to fight are taking it. So what are you going to do? How are you going to bring a knife to a gunfight? You know, no pen to attest, or pen to attest, what Jay-Z said in the Takeover Hova song. But nonetheless, that's the reality that you face in combat sports. That's the dilemma that you have to face as an athlete. You're a clean guy, you don't take drugs, but let's say you're a mixed martial arts fighter and you're, let's say, Michael Bisping, for that matter, right? Because Michael Bisping always takes issues with, what's his name? Vitor Belfort taking drugs, which, by the way, is the reason why Michael Bisping is damn near blind in one eye, because he got his head kicked in by none other than Vitor Belfort while Vitor was on juice. So this is the reason why Michael Bisping feels the way that he does. And he has every right to feel the way that he does. But then he goes in on Anderson Silva when they fought each other, by the way, in London, in the same arena where Anthony Joshua was supposed to fight Dillian Whyte. And he slags off Anderson Silva for taking drugs, right? Well, full disclosure and full context. Prior to the Michael Bisping-Anderson Silva fight, Anderson Silva had a leg break that he had to deal with when he had that issue in the Chris Weidman fight. In the same similar fashion that McGregor broke his leg, the same fashion that Chris Weidman broke his leg, which, by the way, he was the guy that did that to Anderson Silva, and then later it happened to him against Uriah Hall in their rematch. A rematch in which they had from the regional scenes now going into the second stage of their UFC career. So, back to Dillian Whyte. Is he taking drugs? Is he taking substances that's going to help him in any kind of way? 100%. Every boxer does it. The only difference is who gets caught and who doesn't get caught. That's all that it really comes down to by the end of the day. Some guys are slick about it. Some guys have the right scientists. Some guys have the right resources in order for them to hide these substances that they're taking. And then some guys just live in a certain country that doesn't allow certain agents to, let's say, infiltrate their gyms or their cities that they're residing at. Like, take, for example, Dricus du Plessis. I'm not accusing the guy of anything, but let's just be honest. Is there any USADA agents from America that's willing to travel in a dangerous part of South Africa? A lot of people don't understand how dangerous South Africa is. And by the way, this is where Dricus du Plessis is currently staying. Him and the 125er from South Africa, Cameron Simon. They all live there, and do you think that it's easy to go there? Now, how about if you're a Brazilian fighter like Jose Aldo? Is it easy for you to go and drug test Jose Aldo? Again, I'm not accusing these guys of anything, but let's just be honest. Jose Aldo had a bunch of USADA agents deported out of Brazil when they tried to pick up his P test down there. They wanted to just get a sample off of Jose Aldo, and they got the boot right out of Brazil, right? So you would imagine the disappointment in the eyes of many of these USADA agents that were looking forward to getting some Brazilian acai chilling in the beach after they collected Jose Aldo's pee or whatever for drug testing purposes. Never happened, right? It never happened because they got deported out. And I urge you guys to look at this. So you got to think, is everybody on roids in a certain extent? The way that Nate Diaz always references at Conor McGregor, oh, you're on roids, you're on roids. Now back then, guess what? It was very far-fetched for you to believe Nate Diaz would say something like that. However, he is telling the truth to a certain extent, but was McGregor taking it at the time? Probably not. Which means that McGregor is taking it now. Why? Again, for the same reason that Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva and himself, after a devastating leg break at that, had to go and do what they had to do, right? Had to recover. By the way, people always talk about steroids, this is steroids, that. Look, here's the bottom line. Steroids help you recover. Now, your overall health in terms of how it's going to affect you in the long run, that's a different story, because that all is dependent upon how much you take and how much you don't take. And basically, that's the reality of it. But now, let's focus on Dillian Whyte and his fight with Anthony Joshua, right? Okay, so why did he take it? Has he taken it? Yes, 100% he's taken it. Why? Let's delve into the mind of Dillian Whyte. And why is it that he decided he wanted to go and take this banned substance of some sort? Okay. Number one, if you're Dillian Whyte, you're thinking to yourself, well, look at Joshua. He's taking it. Look at Tyson Fury. He's probably taking it. There's a lot of accusations that people have made about Tyson Fury in the past about, let's say, taking a certain boar that he bought from these other gypsies in the Manchester area, where they pumped it up full of steroids and then he would go eat it, right? So that he can somehow gain the benefits from it. Those are some of the things that people talk about. And then people reference the fact that Tyson Fury went bald at a very young age. And so you got to think to yourself, okay, is that significant? Is there some significance to that reality? And the answer is yes, there's a possibility in that. However, he's not the only man in his family that's gone bald, so you can't use one symptom and just say, oh, that's it. But is it far-fetched? No, it's not. It's heavyweight boxing, it's top-level MMA, and all these things, all of the above. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to take drugs because everybody else is doing it. Why? Because for the same reason that Jay-Z mentioned, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, a pen to a test. Okay? And you know the rest of the lines. Jay-Z will say it better than I do. I'm not going to try to bastardize the song, but let me just say it again. If you want to understand why guys are taking steroids or guys are taking illegal substance in combat sports, understand this. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, a pen to a test. Testing in a line with your thin-ass vest. Just think about that. Okay? That's the mind of every combat athlete when they go in there. That's exactly the thoughts that they have when they deal with this kind of situation. So what are you going to do? Are you going to bring a knife to a gunfight and a pen to a test? We'll just have to find out the rest.